Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar with our partners RaySecur, introducing the MailSecur solution. Today, we have our expert panelists from both our RaySecur side, Jason Kerfield, as well as Will Plummer, along with Jason Woulette, who is part of our innovation technology team here at Johnson Controls. Today, we're going to be speaking to you about the MailSecur solution and the critical gap that it fills with traditional X-ray technology, providing a more elusive detection to mail threats. So today, our panelists will be providing a brief overview of the product solution, along with a demo as well. A few housekeeping items before we go ahead and dive in today. The webinar is being recorded. After the conclusion of the webinar this afternoon, a list of all the attendees will be provided with the recording. We are in listen-only mode, so we will be taking questions throughout the presentation. However, if you can go ahead and place your questions into the question panel within the GoToWebinar control, we'll go ahead and address those as they come in, and then save a few minutes at the end for further questions. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Jason Woulette.
Excellent. Kelsey, thank you so much. And I'm really excited to be getting to this point. As Kelsey mentioned, I'm currently responsible for driving our technology and business innovation for security products. And RaySecur was one of the early conversations we had. And why? Because one of the things when we look at problems in facilities and how those connect back to the Security Operations Center, one of the glaring things that jumped out is the mailroom was not connected, meaning there would be enormous delays between threats and potential response. And so we set off on a technology hunt to figure out how to solve that problem. And RaySecur, with its millimeter wave unique technology, gave us the best options for being able to address and identify various threats aligned with government standards and expectations for being able to deliver that type of solution. And so we're really proud to talk about this partnership. We're even prouder to showcase and look at what not only the technology that MailSecur provides on its own, but how much more powerful that can be when it's run with the integration through Secure Victor. So really a good milestone to be at today, to be talking about the general release and availability of this product now. So we'll go through, as you see here on the agenda slide, and talk about some of the market opportunities, ultimate goals, the solution, and of course, the best part of today's presentation, we'll actually see hands-on how it performs. So, and that'll be with the help of Will, who's got the machine there in his background. So, so with that, Kelsey, we can go to the next slide. And so, as we look at this, ultimately, we think about not just the physical security, access control, and video solutions, and things are moving towards smart buildings and buildings that help to make people safer, more secure, more optimized, right? Getting to sustainability savings and all those type of things. And so, within Johnson Controls, we call that the open blue platform, right? And security is a key element of that. And so by bringing this partnership with RaySecur and the MailSecur device, we are now adding a strong element of being able to address mail threats into that ecosystem. We do that, as I mentioned, by leveraging and the key word that you see on this slide that we'll really want to make sure is understood, safe millimeter wave technology. And why does that matter? It matters because today, the biggest standard when it comes to mail scanning is the use of X-ray. Well, X-ray is not safe. It has harmful side effects and requires monitoring and tagging of employees and measurement of exposure. And so, while it's good at detecting some threats, and we'll look at the comparisons of those in some later slides, it has a pretty rough side effect and something to be considered. So the millimeter wave technology completely takes us away from those concerns. The 4D real-time imaging, being able to see what is in the package and be able to spin that around, be able to get through layers of, and again, you'll see that in the live demonstration. When it comes to easy setup, not only is the device easy to set up, but so is the integration, right? So as soon as you fire this machine up, you have one configuration screen to point it at the web service connection of Secure or Victor. And so I want to be clear here, this integration supports standalone to Victor only, standalone to Secure only, and to Unified. So regardless of what environment you're running in, the MailSecur solution is able to be connected. And as soon as it authenticates, if it is the first time that device is connecting, it will create the 6 events required for it. And I will talk in detail here in a few slides about the type of threats that then allow you to simply tie your event actions and control the type of responses to the various threats that you might see. And if you have multiple MailSecur devices, then you can have different events and different actions for specific to those locations and those machines. So that's certainly really powerful. And then of course the intelligence to be able to do quick detections. And this is a roadmap of improvement, even more to come, right? When we think about how we automate detection and improve, like giving you the reliability factors in us. So this just kind of gives you a quick intro into and talks about why this matters in this wider ecosystem of a building when it comes to providing security. Next slide, please. Okay, so ultimately, we want to help to drive solutions that can be a real leader in combating threats related to the mailroom. And make no mistake, these are real threats that cost companies millions of dollars, right? Simply because somebody mailed talcum powder and you don't know what the substance is, but the disruption and the cost to that disruption for business is quite significant, right? So how do we prevent those shutdowns from happening? The innovative solution being able to help us drive real market share growth, right? How do we shift the market in a disruptive way away from X-ray and onto a technology that provides a better answer and a safer solution? And of course, we care very much about thought leadership, right? This is one of the things that we loved most about the technology exploration that we did, the due diligence phase of this project with RaySecur, right? It is clear to us their level of thought leadership and mail security, and that's something that Johnson Controls wants to be associated with. So, this solution definitely aimed at enterprise type level customers. The install base of any existing Secure, Victor, or Unified Secure Victor customers. This is again a straight, easy, like a connected partner program integration. And that comes with the MailSecur device, so the machine is pre-installed, ready to go with the setup to connect to any of those platforms. So it's a nice upsell to those customers that have mail rooms and want to have that connected into their security operations center. And obviously any high risk type industries, we talk about banking, chemicals, and military, the military here, government services, but ultimately data centers, high profile technology companies, protection of CEOs and board of directors for high profile company, all those type of things are equally of strong consideration. We can go to the next slide, Kelsey. Okay, so when we look at overall the product positioning, I'm a firm believer, right, that the product position is defined by how well you solve a problem, right? And this is a place that we feel very confident in our due diligence and through our qualification of the solution. This does solve the mailroom threat. It allows us to do things that we can't do with other technologies in a more effective way, and we'll just see that continue to improve upon. But you look here as this pyramid shows, right, just how the layers of the building and the way that we can overall protect, right? And so we've looked at over 20 plus sites, right, in the last year alone that have been able to extend and provide security using the MailSecur solution, right, and accomplish the goals that we were talking about on the last slide. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so we look here at threat types, and this is real market data, right? So what we're looking at here is overall companies that we all recognize, right, and then the various target threats and percentages that we see, right? So whether that be within education, an attack of universities, or trying to shut down, disrupt federal government, core commercial business, certainly media and political is a big one, right? So these are places today that without these solutions are really vulnerable to shutdowns and extended costs, right? Delays to doing what they do as services and business, and so absolutely important that we find a way to help block and prevent those incidents from happening. Go to the next slide. Okay, so certainly as we look at the overall risk profile and looking at, again, market research data of the Fortune 500 companies, right, between high, medium, and low, and where we really see the best fit for this type of a solution is in the high to medium sites, where ultimately we can provide that level of protection and prevent disruption from happening. And as discussed on the earliest slide, places like data centers, executive protection, manufacturing plants, right, where real disruption when it happens, can equal millions of dollars for a company. But even when you think about companies that have large retail or satellite offices in many locations, and mail that is moving quickly through, there can be a lot of disruption to the supply chain when a threat like that happens, right, of the types that we can detect. Again, I'll talk about in a few moments. We can go to the next slide. So when we look at the type of threats now, so clearly when we look at this, there are things that X-ray just doesn't give us the ability to do. And so the items that are highlighted in red here, like powders, liquids, chemicals, biologicals, you're just not going to be able to, especially in small quantities, which is a large number of the, if you look at, again, the research data and the threats that have actually occurred, the amount of powder that was used to do those attacks is fairly minuscule and not something you're going to be able to see using X-ray. So X-ray is good for weapons and knives, which the millimeter wave and MailSecur certainly does. Explosives, being able to see that as well. But with the MailSecur device, and as you'll see with the demo, you have various modes of being able to put into thermal or going into grayscale and looking for wires and various different ways that you can filter to see key elements, right? So all of these items that are good for X-ray, our technology with the MailSecur device is able to do, and if not in some cases better, and as well like contraband and density. And you're going to see a demonstration here of how some of the clever methods of trying to sneak contraband, like soaking a piece of paper with some type of contraband, and how do you detect that? That's a really difficult thing, and MailSecur gives us an answer for that. And the device also does have an option for being able to add the ability to detect nuclear material and alert on that as well. So, just the sheer coverage that we have for the type of threats is so much more than what X-ray can do alone, which again is in part what led to the decision that this is the right solution, that this is the right partnership for addressing mail security with the overall Security Operations Center. Next slide. Okay, so this is the latest 2021 annual report showing, from real statistics, sorry, stumbling on my words there, but being able to show the type of threats that have happened, right? So you can see predominantly it is just regular mail parcels. We're not talking about, large packages, or it's coming in an envelope or a small parcel. It's not the containers and the bigger stuff. So that's the largest side of where the threats are, which again, size-wise fits perfect for the MailSecur solution. And then you see on the right-hand side, those things that were successful in causing disruption to businesses were things like illegal drugs, or in this case, you can see how predominantly, some type of powder, whether real or fake, but as soon as an envelope is identified of having this content, and especially if it's opened, now things have to be investigated and have to be cleared before, because of the potential threat, before a business can return back to normal. And then on the smaller scale, but very disruptive, explosives or other type of threats, right? So this is real data. This is statistics based on what's really happened in the past 12 months. Next slide. Okay, so we talk about and this really is, from RaySecur's view of how to protect when it comes to mail security, right? Looking at these 5 pillars. So, starting with the people themselves, overall, making sure there's clear standing operating procedures around, what to do when these threats occur, right? So we're not second guessing, and so process is a very important element of this. That also comes to the definition of the response to threats, right? So how do we automate those, and the integration with Secure Victor helps us to really address that. So, and then training. So you can have all the right people, they need to go through the right levels of training and understand what they're looking at when they're reviewing these type of threats. They need to understand, about the responses and the way to act, and so training is a core element of the overall solution to be successful. The technology itself, which is what we're bringing to the table, right? That's where the MailSecur device, the integration itself with Secure Victor provides the technology that is the answer to the solution. And then overall, the emergency response. In part, that can be driven by the event actions that are an automatic response to any various threat, right? So these 5 pillars are the things that have to be in place to ensure that we're providing the right level of security and response to any potential mail threat. Next slide. Okay, and so ultimately we look at the pieces of what the solution is. So on the left here we have the MailSecur device, which, by the way, at ISC West this past March at the trade show received a runner-up Best Product Introduction Award, which really speaks to again the robustness of the technology and how this can fit. And then as well, that comes with a 24/7 able to connect and talk to an explosive ordnance expert that knows and basically can advise on anything that might be questionable, right? So if you're going through, some things are really clear and easy, as we'll see in the demo, and some things might be a little more obtuse and not quite clear. And so you have the comfort of knowing that you don't have to make that decision on your own. You can reach out to an expert who can then tap into that data and then give you an advisement of whether this is really a threat or not, right? Which can help to reduce false alarms and any impact of that. So that package combined, really provides a safety net of a right answer for mail threats, right? Not just trusting that a person themselves becomes the expert, but all through that process, and as they improve on seeing packages and various threats, some of which you may only see once in a great while, you will always have that safety net of the EOD expert that you can reach out to. So that definitely provides a lot of benefit. And of course, as we move forward, adding further AI to help automate the detection of, right, to give that assurance, because the technology knows what it's looking for. Next slide. Okay, so if we do a comparison side by side, looking at whether it's conveyor-based X-rays for higher volume, handheld X-rays, or in comparison to what the MailSecur technology provides for for coverage. So MailSecur certainly is a portable device, easy to maneuver. It's I can tell you of all the things we bring to the innovation showcases, this is one of the easier ones to transport and set up. So you can feel comfortable about that. If we just, yep, there we go, thanks. But you know, it's certainly today is not fit for very large boxes. You know, so it's more set for parcels and letters to be able to do that level of scanning, which you saw on the earlier slide, based on the threats report from 2021. That's really where the lion's share of your threats are coming from in terms of the mailroom. So RaySecur provides a great answer for that, and ultimately then being able to detect explosive and weapons, which X-ray can do, but then going beyond that, being able to detect things like hoax letters with trace amounts of powder, right, or other suspect material that may be used just to create the illusion of a threat. Being able to detect chemical threats, biological threats that can be sent in the form of liquids and powders, and through having the radiation scanner, being able to detect radiological threats equally as well. So you know, well, the one sort of advantage to some of the X-ray solutions is the ability to do large parcels. You know, again, that's the shallow end of the pool in terms of where threat comes from, and all other aspects, the MailSecur device provides a superior solution. Next slide. Okay, we already sort of touched upon the risk profile, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, but ultimately knowing that we're really aimed at that high and medium risk profile for where we see this as a great fit, and knowing that the machine itself gives us the ability to detect the threats for those sites, but again, knowing you've got all of the training and the EOD expertise that you can tap in to make sure that we're covering all of the threats that may be coming into these particular profiles. Next slide. Yeah, and so this gets into talking about the integration now. So ultimately, and the thing that I love about this is it's very straightforward and simple. So you have built into the RaySecur device the integrated driver that when it connects will create 6 event types into the Secure Victor platform. So that's where you'll get liquids, powders, weapons, explosives, radiation, or other suspect material. And the other suspect material is a great way of flagging the, hey, I'm looking at something that doesn't look right, but I'm not quite sure whether to trigger this or not. That can be the event in Secure or Victor to the SOC that says, hey, let's get a hold of that EOD expert and review this before we make you know, a decision of what category or even if this is something to alert on, right? So even built through the integration is the tie-in for the SOC to help manage that process, right? So that the person in the mailroom has that direct support and visibility, and that device comes with an integrated Illustra camera. Now, the demo that we're going to see here shortly, that device is one of the native MailSecur devices that doesn't have the Illustra camera integrated in it yet, but under that hood, and we'll point out where that is during the demo, you'll have that camera which we can tie in, so as soon as something breaks the plane of the scanner, it can alert into the SOC, bring up that camera so that the SOC is seeing exactly how the package is being handled and scanned, and the screen, the millimeter wave display itself is also fed into Secure Victor as a video stream that can go into your video edge recorder. So now for forensic purposes, you literally have the whole story. You have exactly what the package looks like, what the contents were, how it was scanned, along with the computer vision itself from the Illustra camera to tie that whole thing together. So it really makes a complete package for how to scan this. And so again, you go through that, you see a threat, like in this image, you see there's a gun showing up on the display. I then hit the weapons alert. That then through Victor Web Services right into the SOC raises the alarm, and from there you can automate whatever the event actions to lock down the facility, to evacuate, to change the threat level, to change clearance filter levels to ensure only security staff can move and everybody else is prevented from moving until we know that the package has been secured. So lots of capabilities, to eliminate delays. And for instance, as one example, if a powder was detected, now through the other integration capabilities of Secure Victor, you can use the BACnet interface to shut the HVAC system off literally with no human intervention and no delay. And that can be the difference between life and death when it's something like fentanyl or truly an anthrax or true biological threat. So that's how powerful this can be through the integration. Next slide. Okay, so I think this really just kind of summarizes a number of the points that we talked about, right? So we're able to get this 4-dimension real-time imaging, the ability to leverage AI and automation for both detection and response. We know it's safe because of its unique and patented millimeter wave technology that provides the overall solution. You've got the access to the EOD expert for the assistance and screening and the confidence for what you're looking at. And we know that this complies with all of DHS's best practices, right? So you'll align with those guidelines and know that you've got a solution that meets those requirements. Lightweight and portable. The case that this comes in, frequently we actually use the case to set the machine up on and do the demonstrations on, and then very quickly can flip into and move that to a different location if need be. So it's very easy to work with in that way. And again, I touched on a number of the reasons why it's very simple and intuitive to use and set up. Next slide. All right, so I am gonna turn this over to Will at this point. And Will, if you wanna share your screen and take us through a few demonstrations of both the integration and the MailSecur solution itself.
All right. Should we look at a full screen, correct?
Yes, we are. Thank you.
All right, so as Jason mentioned, it's portable. It weighs at 70 pounds if you basically pick it up. It's a 2-person move. It does go through the administrative stuff on it. So it does show up in this crate. It's ruggedized and built for it on wheels, and oftentimes is the crate that turns into the workstation itself. Generally speaking, if you want to think about like a desktop printer. It has the same power requirements. It takes up the same amount of space. The internet or the back side of it, think of it like a computer. It's got USB ports, so we can plug in periphery items if we want to add or remove items for the clients. And it runs on Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or hard cable LAN. Oftentimes, we connect it with LTE modems based on client requirements. It will do anything that you want a normal computer to do. So all the videos is stored. It goes on a local hard drive, and you can download them afterwards for forensic evidence required. For evidentiary purposes, it does go directly from a hard drive to an investigator, for example, if it's going to go into something run by the police. The system itself is completely safe. As Jason mentioned, it's millimeter wave. It's just simply radio energy that we're firing at a camera that's sensitive to it, and it's intended to be very easy to be used. The energy that we're running through the main screening area, this is collimated, so it doesn't make a difference where you put the item that you're screening. It doesn't have any particular requirements for the operator. They can toss it in, and they're still going to get a true one-to-one no matter where they put it in there. Now, so avoid some confusion, there are 2 screening areas on one deck. So this is a 3D printed knife in the main screen deck, and there's the butt end of the same knife in the zoom. You're going to see me switch back and forth between the 2 of them, just so it avoids confusion, makes it a bit easier. So one thing that we focus on when we talk about what you have to do with this in mail screening is we focus on the operator. Generally speaking, your screener is going to be entry level. Usually they're going to be trying to move on somewhere out of the mailroom, or they've got another set of requirements placed on them because it's a second or third job that they have during the day. So what we really focus on is trying to make this thing as simple as you learn what normal looks like, and when abnormal shows up, that's when you raise your hand and try to get some help. So this is what normal should look like. Adhesive strip on the back, 10 sheets of paper, the corners are clear. That's what a normal envelope looks like when you run it through the machine. All day long, every day. It should look exactly the same. When abnormal shows up, and with Jason's point, little bit larger envelope. This is normal on the top, adhesive strip, 10 sheets of paper, everything looks straight, nothing looks out of line. When you start looking down here at the bottom, you can tell that it doesn't actually match up the sides like it should. This is 2,000 milligrams of powder. So generally speaking, when facilities are targeted and the individual sending the threat isn't looking to get it to anybody in particular, they'll send it to whatever company, you pick the name. The amount that they put in there is enough that when you open it up, it gets kicked up in the air, the material gets inhaled by the individual doing the screening, and you end up with a response. That's why people end up going to the hospital with nothing to back on. But that's what it usually looks like. It's aimed at in the facility. It's fairly obvious. There's a lot of material inside. When you're looking for smaller amounts, and when you're looking with this targeting at individuals and people that you're worried about actually protecting, it's a lot smaller. So this is, again, same envelope, adhesive strip, 10 sheets of paper. This corner is clear. This one has something wrong with it. This is 200 milligrams of powder. Usually, executive protection work, depending upon who you're working with or looking at, they're looking at each individual piece of mail that would go, that's aimed at those folks, aimed at those individuals. Oftentimes it's less than 250 milligrams, it's a small amount, to where if it gets on the desk, it's going to cause the response with it. One of the interesting things about this is mail should be straight. Mail shouldn't have anything crazy in it. It should make sense when you look inside of it. When you use this machine, think of it more like a CT scanner or more like a sonogram. It's not going to give you X-ray style of imagery. It's going to give you something that shows you movement inside. It shows you exactly what you're doing when you manipulate the item. It'll give you the response of what's happening inside of it. We talk about how low we can actually get. So this is 25 milligrams of powder. That's what it looks like when it's being moved in the form of like a drug package. A lot of times when you're talking fentanyl, you're talking this much or smaller, and that's unfortunately becoming more and more common. Liquids, liquid threats, they happen all the time. People will pack up a liquid threat, put in fuel, something flammable, send it through the mail, thinking that on the other end it's just going to miraculously break out of the bag and hurt somebody. But what happens is usually it gets popped in transit, so it shows up either smelling rather funny or with coffee stain looking material on the outside of it. But people do send those quite often. If it does show up liquid, it moves like you'd expect liquid to move. When you start looking at weapons and other items, so it does go through other things other than paper. This is plastic with a plastic pistol inside of it, and the packing material that you normally see inside of a gun case. So you'll get a good idea of exactly what's inside of it as you go through it. You can see this one, for example, you know it's a toy pistol because you can see through the barrel and you can see through the other components. Real gun, aside from a Glock, real gun, something that's metal, because it's non-ionizing, we're not going to be able to see through that, but you will still get the outline, you will still know what you're looking at. One of the other interesting things about this is when people screen mail, especially with X-ray systems, what they'll do is they'll take 50 to 100 sheets or 100 pieces of mail, put inside one of those plastic USPS bins we've all seen in the post office, and however that package lands inside of that bin is how it gets X-rayed. That's the image and the view you get to see. So oftentimes threats will get through because something might be sitting vertically, and it's just not presented in a way that the screener can actually identify something going wrong. Even if that X-ray could see it, powder threats, most of the events that happened in 2021 and 2022 is holding true. They're less than half an inch thick, weigh less than 10 ounces, and they're all delivered by postage stamp, preferably anonymously from the individual sending the threats. I'm going to use an example here of a pipe bomb, but there's plenty of other examples that you could use. One of the things about the service that Jason mentioned is we have 24/7 reach back to EOD or explosive ordnance disposal technicians who've done this for a living. They're good at looking at imagery. They're good at identifying threats from explosives like this example all the way down to chemical, biological, radiological, and show you how to deal with it. So what you do when something shows up as a screener, you hit the record button, and all you do is get a recording of exactly what's going on. Now, once that's done with the Secure system, you have a couple options, depending upon how the SOP is set up. If you want to initiate the event immediately, which we recommend with this system, you hit the options button, which pops up basically a check screen and says, are you sure you want to do this? Did you mean to hit it? Because it's going to cause an alert. Yep, I want to raise an event. And it gives you a couple options. So liquid, powder, weapon, explosives, radiation, suspect, like Jason mentioned a little bit ago. So for this one, I'm going to pick weapon. I'll click activate event, and then whatever predetermined actions are inside Secure, it will run them, just like a sensor, just like a camera and everything else. And it will run it from the beginning to the end until it's cleared. That's GSOC. The other things that would happen at that point, so you raise it, we dial in, we take a look and help the security team go through it. First thing that we do is review the video. The one that we just took is stored locally on the hard drive, and we can do a couple things. We can upload it, so we can slice it to JPEG to an MP4 to a bunch of JPEGs, so we can make a mosaic out of it, make it a lot larger, and start looking at wires and tracking things down and making sure that this is a viable threat or it is not. We can also pull up a deck camera. So there's the Johnson Controls camera version that is not on this particular system that is looking directly down with a fisheye, so you get the entire deck. We have another one on here that you can look at and pull information off of the package itself, who it's from, who it's to, all the pertinent data that you can use to either do some research and reduce the threat because, yep, the CEO did order this, or increase your response because we laid this person off with the last 200 folks that we let go, and this is not their equipment getting shipped back in that we asked for. There's something else going on. Jason mentioned the radiological side, so let me log that in real quick. It's constantly in the background. So for users, they don't have to do anything. It's monitoring for EPA and OSHA level standards for a normal office environment. When that's violated, you get a visual cue that's going to tell you, hey, there's something inside the room that either just walked in or you put next to it that has a radiological footprint that's heavier or shouldn't be in the room if you want to work there. Once that's done, there's a radiation setting that you could put through the Victor reporting network and let it go. I'm going to clear this, minimize that, and it's taken care of. The camera itself that I mentioned, Jason mentioned we talked about it, so it's right up under the bottom of the deck, facing down and looking at exactly what the operator is doing. So if there is any questions about what happened, what they opened, what they touched, what they rolled over or turned over, it's captured. You know exactly what happened, and it mimics exactly what you're seeing in the millimeter wave imagery itself. So mentioned looking at drug-laced paper and looking at other events. So this is 10 sheets of paper with 2 sheets inside that have been treated with a stimulant, drugs in a case. The one on the left is 10 sheets that haven't been treated. So the density difference between the two gives you a good identification of if there's something wrong in that paper. We do this a lot with corrections, and we do this a lot with jails and prisons where they're having to try to keep drugs out. Through the pandemic, we had a large amount of folks that no longer allowed visitors. So when that stopped, the drugs should have slowed down. Drugs did not slow down. They actually increased a little bit. So they started looking heavier at corrections officers. Drugs still stayed. Come to find out a lot of it is going through legal mail, things that can't be taken from the prisoner. So when you start looking at the differences in the 2 different packets, it allows anybody working corrections or working inside a detainment facility to pull that packet out and have a good reason to look at it. It saves time because all the stuff that's clear gets sent through without any issues or concerns. Normal items that go through that draw a little bit of a craziness is there's strange things in mail all day, every day. This is a singing birthday card, one of those that show up regularly for somebody, obviously on their birthday. If people have never seen a speaker before, the inside of it, where you can see the outer ring that retains the woofer, and then the little speaker part that's free floating, that electricity goes through and bounces it up and down and makes the sound, that's what it looks like. So when we train the screeners, a lot of time what we get is they'll learn normal. It takes a little bit of time, but they will absolutely learn normal and will learn to figure out what they're looking at and what they should allow through, what they shouldn't allow through. It will take pictures, it will take video, and we can make adjustments and make any new updates as needed. Basically, it's intended for the general user to be able to screen mail at the point where you're sorting it from this part goes to the C-suite, this part goes to the janitorial department. That's a staff job. You can't automate that. So that's the point where it usually goes in at, and that person gets assigned a screening task as well. Doesn't add much time to the day. We have screeners that are doing between 300 to 500 pieces of mail an hour. It takes 5 to 6 seconds to clear something and say, yeah, it's good, it's good. It's not intended to make things any more difficult. Are there any questions up to here? Jason, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered that quite well. So I'm sure we may have some questions in the Q&A, but Will, I think you did a fantastic job on that demo.
All right, thank you.
Yep, we're good on questions right now.
Okay, so Kelsey, I think we can go back to slides, but I think that's going to bring us pretty close to just our Q&A phase of things. If there are any questions on any aspects, right? So, again, we can sort of touch here on the DHS guidelines themselves, right? The difference between MailSecur and X-ray scanners, right? Again, this is very clear and compelling. When you look at the type of threats that we can detect using the MailSecur solution versus X-ray, and again, you saw firsthand in that demonstration, the ease at which we can drop things in and then go through review, right? And the various different types of threats. Next slide. So this is just some details about the ordering. So the unit itself, which is the MailSecur 300 and the part number, as well as the EOD service. And then there is the bundle that gets the whole thing, which is a 5-year subscription, including that service, right? And then just the integration option for the Victor web service to support that along with the SSA uplift. So only a few part numbers, very easy to remember and understand in terms of how to actually order the device and the integration. Next slide. All right, and as promised, right, that brings us to a bit of a wrap here. But again, I hope today we were able to demonstrate to you why this answers a real gap in security for buildings by bringing the mailroom directly into the SOC. I truly hope that you're able to see the benefit of a threat, whether it's liquid, powder, weapon, explosive, radiation, or other, and how that can tie right into the event engine. So any action that you can take in an event can be an automated, a fully autonomous response to that threat. Again, whether that's raising the threat level, whether that's enacting a shelter in place, an evacuation, a muster, turning off the HVAC, sending email notifications. I mean, there are literally hundreds of responses that can be taken now simply due to one of these threats being detected. So please feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A area, and we'll between myself, Jason, and Will, we will do our very best to address those questions. All right, well, certainly we'll give a moment here just as people might be typing for questions, but there is certainly a lot to be said about what we've been able to demonstrate here today for you. This does largely leverage exactly what you'd be familiar with in the Secure Victor platform through the Connected Partner Program. So that is the mechanism for how the integration works, and and able to provide such a compelling solution. And I know I'm very proud of this, and certainly have found a great partnership in RaySecur, working with Will, Jason, and the rest of the team there, who have really since roughly August last year when we started this endeavor, have just been a tremendous partner in helping to support what we've done, getting to trade shows and bringing a world-class integration to the market.
Wonderful.
Will, Jason, anything you want to add?
No, thank you, Jason. It's been great. We really enjoy working with Johnson Controls and the team, and it's interesting to see what you can do when you get APIs and actually start plugging sensors into the systems that have the ability to shut down things that need to be shut down and alert those that need to be alerted. It's not something we get to do with many of our other clients, many of the people we work with, and it's really, really great. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Jason, Kelsey, and everybody else at JCI that we've worked with. We've done a lot in such a short period of time, and I just want to make sure that everybody on the call understands that not only can they go to you for questions surrounding anything MailSecur, RaySecur, but they also have an open line of communication to me and my team if any questions arrive after the call.
Yeah, we're definitely here to support the launch, and any opportunities that you may have or interest in evaluation, just reach out to any one of us and we will be glad to make sure we get the right resource and responses for you. Any questions, Kelsey?
Okay. No, we had one question come in about the MSRP price and delivery time specifically in Europe. So I did reply back privately to that. If you want to go ahead and shoot me an email, I can get some specifics for you and provide you the correct pricing and discounts and everything that you need in that respect. In our most recent revisions too of our price books across our different regions, the RaySecur solution is posted. So feel free to browse through those price books as well and reach out and let us know if you have any questions. I think, yep, that is it.
All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for taking your valuable time to allow us to introduce the product and share its capabilities. Certainly hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and know that we're here to support you as opportunities come up. Take care, everybody, and thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Are we off broadcast, Kelsey?